work with. It's just short all the time. It's a quarter of an inch, and then it's 3/6, 3/8 of an inch, and then it's 1 inch. There's nothing to work with. And finally, I've gotten to a place where I can get a heat tool in it and get it. Welcome back. I hope you guys have had a great spring. I hope you've been journaling and creating and finding time for yourself in whatever way that works for you. I've had a very full spring here in Florida. We started our journaling workshops in January last year, and January, February, March, and April. So and they've been so my passion for journals. People see their might be beneficial in some way, and then we're not doing it. I kind of have developed a system for myself about approaching those problems. I said I was going to do yoga, I'm not doing it. I said I was going to join a gym, I did, but I'm not going. I said I was going to start this journal, and I'm not doing it. When we set out to do something that we think will be beneficial to us, and then we're not doing it, we have to ask ourselves some questions. And I think what happens to me personally, and I don't know about you, I'd love to hear in the comments if this happens to you. In the past, my pattern has been that if I set out to do something that would be beneficial to me, like yoga or write in a journal, and then I'm not doing it, my default is to get lost in a conversation with myself about my faults for why I'm not doing that thing. Like I'm just lazy, or I don't want to get up that early, or I'm not a good enough writer, or I'm not creative enough. Something with me. Do you understand? Like, so I tend to go right to where's my shortcoming in this? And I've learned over time to push through that, just shove that into a closet and lock the door and say, what else could be a barrier to why I'm not doing this thing? So in the case of the yoga situation, is it possible that the early morning just isn't the right time? Is there an opportunity to do a yoga practice on your lunch break or after work? How about comfort? Did it turn out that you were going to try to do yoga in the living room, and just the idea of everybody walking by while you were doing yoga, and it just wasn't the right setup, right? It's not anything to do with us being lazy or unable to commit. Usually there's some uncomfortable barrier in the way. And so I used that same technique with this reading journal. Instead of weighing myself down with the idea that I'm just too lazy to make a reading journal or something, I knew that the idea of it was of appeal to me. So there's some other barrier. What could that be? And just sort of broke it down for myself. And to be honest with you, what it comes down to, it's just too big. It's just too big. It's just a journal that felt like it had so much space to fill. I just felt like I would never get there, and it was holding me back. So I remedied it, and I made a new reading journal. So I'm going to show you that one in this video as well, and I love it. It's going great, and it is a much more reasonable size. In fact, let me pull that over here. I've got my carry-all refilled. This is my Sandy by the Lakeside carry-all, and it is my journal mecca. This is where it all houses, and I just love it, having it all in one place. at the opening of this, I did some video of me tidying up this room. I brought all of the supplies back from the studio that I take up there for the journaling workshops, and my stuff was just everywhere. And it feels really good to have it back in its home. This is my new reading journal. So that's a little bit more manageable, right? So we're gonna do an overhead of the clunky one. There's stuff in there that I love. It's not like it's a terrible thing. It just was too big. And then we'll do an overhead of this smaller one in this beautiful Archer and Olive Traveler's Notebook size. And I am just in love with this. I also have a overhead of some pens. I'm looking at the JetPens website right now. I mentioned in a post on this page that I was going to do a little talk about pens because I kind of fell down a pen rabbit hole last month, and I have really liked the JetPens website for pens. That's where I've been ordering, and I've ordered 2 of their pen samplers. One of the ones that I ordered was I think it was called the Drawing Pen Sampler. And there's a lot of varieties of that. There's a drawing pen sampler. There is a waterproof drawing pen sampler, a brush pen sampler. There's so many. But when I went to JetPens today to pull this page up for this video, the very first thing that popped up under samplers was a JetPens Hobonichi Techo recommended pen sampler. Isn't that cool? And I know a lot of you have mentioned that the Hobonichi paper changed this year. This is my first year using it, so I didn't have any basis of comparison. But I think that's really interesting that they've launched that sampler specifically. They have a Hobonichi Techo gel pen sampler. So yeah, I think these samplers are a lot of fun. I got the brown ink pen sampler for my husband for part of a Christmas present. I put together a little kit for him of a journal and some pens and some just sort of journaling supplies, and I thought he would really enjoy that brown ink. So that's a cool sampler too, and I will talk about pens in an overhead. I'm going to give you a heads up that I mentioned in that overhead the Kaweco fountain pen that I have, and I misspoke in that. I told you that I put my own ink in that. That is incorrect. The ink that's in that Kaweco is from that company. I ordered a sampler pack that had red, green, blue, and black ink, and it's their blue ink. Meanwhile, since I filmed that overhead, my Pilot ran out of ink, so I popped back onto JetPens, and you know what I ordered was the syringe and the refillables, because I do have ink, and I'm going to refill my Pilot with my own ink, so I'll show you guys that in another video. But anyway, so let's get on with the overhead and take a look at this monster of a reading journal, and then the much more tidied down one. And then I have a new tarot deck I'm in love with, and so let's pull a card from that, and I'll show you some journaling entries I've done that have been inspired by that deck, because it's really just really spoken to me. I'm really happy that you're here and that we're sharing this space together. So let's go to the overhead. Okay, so here we go. Here's the overhead. This is the clunky. This guy is huge. Do I have my ruler over here? Oh, I don't know where I put my ruler. Anyway, this is big. I don't know how many inches this is, but this is a big journal. And I actually did this intentionally really big because I thought I would like the space, right? But I'll show you when I open this out, like, these are big pages. And I thought that would be really fun to have a lot of space to maybe even do some sketching in and write some quotes in and things like that, and do some collage work and whatnot. So big. This was an inexpensive quote unquote sketch pad. And I say that loosely because it was bought at like a Dollar Tree or something like that for $5. And it didn't have a very pretty cover. So I made this collage for the cover, which, excuse me, I do actually really love. And I'm debating what to do about that because I really like this collage. I might try to take this with me if I'm going to dismantle this book, but we'll see what happens. And then I showed you guys in a video a couple months ago that I thought that I had ordered some book journal stickers, and I got a couple of these. And it turned out this was a bound book journal. And so I decided that what I would do is just kind of cannibalize it, just take it apart and use out of it what I wanted. Because it's ring bound or whatever, these disc bound, I was able to just pop pages out of it. So I did tear this apart. And to be honest with you, I'm okay with that. the way that this was set up was very, for me, there was too much blank space and it was very repetitive as far as the prompts went. So I knew that in its just set up as it wasn't exactly what I was looking for a reading journal. So I took some stuff out of it and used some pages, like this is from that, the 100 book challenge and the 50 book challenge. I just took those pages out, trimmed the perforated edges off and glued them into this book. So I'm okay with that. I don't have regrets about tearing this up, but I will say that if you are new to creating a reading journal, buying one that's done and prompted, now that I know what I know, I think is a good start, actually. I think that's a good way to go. And I'll put the link to this company in the description box below. She has beautiful stickers and just lots of great things for journaling. And she has these actual journals. So there's those. And then what I did was create an index of what I was going to actually track in 2025, which includes romance, mystery, wellness, my book club book, fantasy, novels, classics, and then holiday. But even within holiday, I have a little subcategory: Christmas romance, Christmas classics, and kind of fall cozy, because those are all genres that I got into last year. And so I felt like under holiday, they could have their own sort of listing. And then just created a little collage. This pretty paper came out of that reading journal. Some stickers from an Etsy shop online. So let me just clarify that PS, I think this is pretty. I don't have any problem with this as it is. I mean, it was really fun to piece together and it was really, I like looking at it, but something happens because as pretty as I thought it was, I stopped using it. Okay. So then we get to, the index: holiday, Christmas classics. I mean, I even made these little tabs, y'all. I was into it. Fall cozy. Then we have book club. And I even have my first book club book of the year is here. Oh, I know what I want to show you guys too. I got a little Ivy printer. I am bananas for this thing. So you can see this was the photograph I took. I was going to just use my Instamax and try to take a picture of the book. Wah, wah, wah. That does not work out very well. That little Instamax camera, this guy, he's Polaroid. I really like this, but he takes good outdoor shots. That's what he does well. See, that's my puppy out in the yard. So if you've got full sun on your subject, you can get a good picture. I've had this camera for a long time, so this is why I'm sharing this. When you go for indoor shots, it's almost impossible to get them in focus, even with flash, even if you put light on it. Here's another outdoor shot from that Instamax. See, that's a good photo. But you have to have full sun. Okay? This is using their monochrome. I have no idea why I took that. That's a funny picture. Anyway, so this Instamax camera, you can get some good photos, but not of books. That's not what I was looking for. So that already sort of, it took a little wind out of my sails, that sort of unattractive picture. And I was kind of stuck. It was my very first book that I did. And I thought, oh man, what am I going to do about pictures for this? Anyway, the answer is I end up buying a printer and I'll show that to you. Book review, this little montage here of collage stuff. I took those papers out of that other journal. And I like the setup. As I look at this and I'm talking to you, I mean, there's no real problem here. I like these little frames that they had on their paper, and I put some quotes into that. Some of these papers will look familiar to you if you've been on my channel before and know that I use a lot of these repeat papers in my collage work. So there it was. My first book was, where is it? The Lost Bookshop, E.V. Woods. Here's some quotes. Next up, novels. And the first novel that I read was Midnight Library. But you can see there's not a photo of the book here. I'm already stalling out. And we're only on January 10th at this point. I get some quotes in, but no art. So it's already starting to fade. And I know this sounds weird, but not being able to print out a photo of the book cover was stalling me. That was stall number one. And then I keep reading, and nothing is getting entered. Let's just do an over of just blank pages. Y'all, it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening, and books are getting read and I am not tracking them. So, I carry this traveler's passport size, what I call my little pocket brain. So in the interim, while I was in panic mode that I was not using this, I created a little mini book journal that is literally just a list of what I'm reading. Because one of the things that happened to me is that I was in a bookshop and we were talking about the book we were reading, and I could not remember the name of the book I was reading. I felt like an absolute nut. So I came home and created this little list, and all this is the name of the book, the author, if I liked it, how many stars. That's it. So that if I'm out and about and somebody says, hey, what did you read this year? I can be like, oh, you know what? This was a good one. You might like it. And I can actually tell them the name of the book and the author. So I've just kept this going, right? So at least I wasn't losing track of what I'd read so far this year. And I like keeping this with me. This is just a reference. This isn't meant to be like a true on 2025 reading journal, such as I envisioned in my head. This is just a list. So that's helpful. And so I basically just put a pause on this and said, I don't know what's going to happen. We're in pause mode. And then I got a shipment of Archer and Olive journals for my shop. So my cooking school, we offer cooking classes and journaling workshops. We also offer cookbooks, real cookbooks, actual paper. Our focus at that space is really about intentional living. And so our cooking classes are baking classes. I feel like a baking practice worked into your weekly or monthly calendar is a really lovely place to find a moment of intention. And then eating that baked good with a cup of hot tea in the afternoon is another place to practice that concept of slowing down and intention. We offer cookbooks because I am big on reading from books, not from screens. And we offer journaling workshops. And so I got a shipment. The first round of journals that I got for my shop were all prompted because people who were coming to me for these classes this year, we just started these in 2025. A lot of them were either new to journaling or returning to journaling after a long break. And a prompted journal is a really good landing for starting a practice or rekindling one. And then now that it's spring, I did a second round and went with just blank journals as people start getting braver about their journaling practice. A really beautiful quality, great paper, blank journals, the answer. So I ordered from Archer and Olive, and this was one of the styles that we got in, and I decided to turn this into a reading journal. So along with this, my husband gifted me this Ivy mini printer, and y'all, I'm in love. Look what happens. So Andrea 2025 little book sticker. And here we go. This is Lost Bookshop. It's that same one that was that terrible photo in the other. I was able to just use this Ivy printer and find the cover art and print just the cover. So already I was like singing. I was coming out of my shoes. I was so happy. So there's the cover, quotes. It was my book club book. Here's the dates that I read it. Although I am going to say I am not including dates that I read books for the rest of them, in part because I got behind. Remember, I lost track a little bit. So, oh well, at least I have them cataloged. At least we know. This one, I talk a little bit about what it's about. So it's kind of journaling, right? What it felt like to me, why it was valuable to me at the time, what was happening in my life that might have made reading Lost Bookshop sort of touch me in a certain way. So there's that. And then the next book that I read was The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Again, just a beautiful picture of the cover. And then quotes. This book was really interesting because this book is, The Midnight Library is, there's no spoilers here. The library houses essentially stories of your life in parallel versions. All right. So you can go to this library and take a look at what your life would have been if you'd said yes to this or no to that or gotten this degree instead of that degree. So it's a really interesting story about parallel lives, parallel versions of your story. It's a story about regret. It's a story about Finding Joy Where You Are. And as I was reading this, my mom was dying. We were losing her at this point. And I think something about the way that this spoke to me at that time, it was just a really interesting time to be reading about how well a life was lived, and if there were regrets or not, and if there were other paths, would they have been better? I don't know. You know what I mean? It was just the right timing. So I did some journaling about that, and it was just, that was a really great read for me. Then we move on to this. Now I want to show you, this is kind of interesting what I'm doing here. So Encyclopedia of Fairies, I read in 2024, and I read book 2, Map of the Otherlands, in January. And what I decided to do was make 3 pages, because book 3 of this is already out. So since this is a series, I decided to put all 3 of them in, even though only 2 of them are going to have been read in this year. I just decided to keep the series together. So that was my choice. I'm curious about that. If you have done a reading journal or do one consistently, what are your thoughts about series and how you list them in that way? So I put a note in here, read in 2024, but then I did some quotes, and then we moved on to book 2, which I read this year. And now this one I'll read soon. It only came out in hardback first, and I have the other 2 in paperback. So I'm waiting for this to come out in paperback, and then I'll buy it and read it, and we'll complete the series within here. But I'll put, okay, I'm also numbering what number book it is in the year that I read. So Lost Bookshop was number 1. Matt Haig was number 2. Book 2 of Emily Wilde's series was number 3, right? So when I read this book, like, it might be number 12, book 3, number 12 of the year. I don't know when I'll read it. But that was kind of fun. And then I did the same thing with this. Legends and Lattes I read last year, so read in 2024. By the way, in my top 5 of favorite books I've read in my entire adult life. And then Bookshops and Bone Dust is the sequel that's technically a prequel. And that was the 4th book that I read this year. So it's book 2 of this series, the 4th one that I read this year, and I read book 1 in 2024. I hope that makes sense. It does to me, and I guess that's what matters the most. But again, I wanted to kind of keep them together. I will reread these. And I will love rereading these. These are going to be go-tos when things don't feel good in my heart and soul, and I need to feel better about the world. This is where I'll go. If you have not read these books, book 2 is a prequel, and I highly recommend reading book 1 first anyway. The way that the author set these characters up, I think his timeline is just beautiful. So start here, read this one, then you'll come read this one. And when I finished this book, when I read the last sentence, I burst into tears. And it was just so sweet and touching. I don't know how else to put it. And I can't remember the last time I felt like that. Maybe watching Ted Lasso. I don't know. It was just so joyful. I highly recommend these. You can see I have star ratings. I'm just putting gold star stickers here. You could use a stencil or something like that to do stars, which is what I'm doing in this one. I've just been using a little stencil. Can y'all even see that? To do those little stars there. I do a lot of 5 stars. I love reading. Books always make me happy. If it's 5 stars, I would reread it. That's kind of the criteria. If it's 4 stars, it was excellent, but I don't know that I would put my eyes on it again. And as I've shared with you guys in this space before, I'm an avid rereader. I love to reread a book. Okay, so this is interesting. This is the 5th book that I read, and this book is also it's technically part of like a 9-book series, but this particular one, The Shadow Hunters, I think is 3 parts. So I left room for the next book and the next book. These are young adult. They're very light, easy fantasy. They're clean. And I just really enjoyed it. It was like a palate cleanser between heavier things and more and longer things, I guess. And so I really liked that. So I'll read her other 2 from this Shadow Hunters. I don't know if I'll read the 4 that are the prequel and the 4 that come after. Hard to say, but I left room in here for those as well. And I just need to do my fill-in on him.
And then I jumped into Crescent City. I've read every Sarah J. Maas book there is, and this Crescent City series is the last ones for me personally. And I did the same thing, even though technically book one, no, I read that. I've read them all this year. I was thinking this was a 2024. It's not. I started these all this year. So I read book one. Here's some stuff. I put room for book two. Here's some stuff. And I'm on book three and have already started filling in some things. I'm loving it. And book three of Sarah J. Maas is my 8th book for 2025 is what it looks like to me. I suppose that's right. I was thinking I'd read 9, so I might be missing one in here somewhere. But number 8 for 2020. Did I say 2023? 2025. Let's jump into the current year if we can. 2025, I've read 8 books so far. Well, I guess 7.5 because I'm about halfway through this one and I'm really liking it. So this setup is a winner. It's plenty of information for me to look back and relive and enjoy. There's room for me to put down characters. I was thinking I might end up putting a sticker here from the series. Room for the next 2. Room for all 3 here. I love this, you guys. I am just really happy with it. I will also say that this particular profile, this traveler's, this is a traveler's notebook size, right? Idea. This is a traveler's notebook brand in their passport size. This is Archer and Olive's TN traveler's notebook size. I really like this size and this shape, and I am going to probably use more of these down the road, but I'll show you this real quickly. I happen to be using this in the setup that it's, top to bottom, and it's nice. I like that profile, but I also like these turned. If you go this way, you get a lot of space there too. And I'll show you, that's what I've done with my 100 Tiny Treasures. 100 Tiny Treasures, a lot of artists are offering that sort of paint along this year. And the one that I'm following is Leslie Stotz. I think I will put her link down below. And 100 Tiny Treasures, you do 100 paintings from February of 2025 to February of 2026. And this, I showed you guys this last time. I don't know where I got this notebook, but my point about it is that it's that profile. And what I did was just turn it on its side and turned it into a painting collection. So these are my 100 Tiny Treasures so far for this year. And I love it because in this setup, it gives me room for my tiny treasure, but some swatching, right? Some pen testing, and some writing. What paper am I using? What am I trying to create here? Is it about the sky? Is it about wet on wet? Is it about depth? So just turning the page sideways gives me a very different feel for it. And I really like that. So I could see doing a reading journal in that side profile too, if that suits you better for like longer writing and things like that. In this case, like, you do get a little jammed in here. So this is one quote and I had to like turn it into this. If that makes you nuts, you could go this way and probably get that quote in 2 lines that way. So that's just something to think about. I've really enjoyed this 100 Tiny Treasures challenge. And now you can see too that Ivy printer has started helping me. What I was doing was putting a photograph from the estuary up on the screen of my TV and having to kind of look up and look at that. But now I can just print these great photos out from that little Ivy printer. Look at this. This is an actual, that's real. We, my dog and I had to go for our walk a little early one morning. I don't take my phone on my walks, generally speaking, but because we were going to go out about 40 minutes earlier than normal, I did because I suspected this is exactly what was going to be happening. The sun is just so gorgeous in the spring here with that clear, cold air. You get these really beautiful sunrises. So, these are from that Ivy printer. Aren't they great? So now I can use these as my reference. The idea here was to do one with just black ink, and then this one with brown and black ink, and then some layers of watercolor. I don't know what I was doing here. I don't love that one a lot. Oh, I think I was working with gouache. I was working with gouache in this. I have a hard time with that word. Anyway, it's been really fun. So, but the point is just turning this a different size. Another one that I'm enjoying, I decided to try my hand at sketching. I don't sketch. I've never had an art class in my life. But the 8x8, I'm liking this too because it's got a lot of space in it. You certainly could go this way as well, but your space is the same size no matter which landscape you go on an 8x8. And I think that's pretty cool. These Archer and Olives are cool because they come with pockets in the back. So I can put materials back here that I want. I've clipped a few more photos for inspiration purposes back here. And then you know what's funny? I was talking to you guys about stage fright. I got stage fright with this book. I had this book and I wasn't doing anything with it. And so I decided on page 1 to just do doodles, to just scribble scrabble. And that is a tip that I got from an actual sketching YouTuber. His name is Sketchbook Skool, and it's sketch with a K, Sketch, Sketchbook Skool. And Skool is with a K too, Skool. I'll link him below. I really like Danny and his teaching, and he does talk a lot about the value of a doodle to just kind of get your hand going. And that helped kind of break the ice on this. And then I was able to finally get my first kind of sketch in there. Finally broke the ice and got one in. I did this scrunched up coffee cup. I was really focused on the handle. I didn't realize I was running out of page up here to get my coffee cup in. I just wanted to get the angle on that handle. And you can see that printer, how handy it is. Like, this is not a great photograph. There's a pill bottle in the background. What I wanted was the shadows, right? So I took that photo and then was able to mess around with my sketch based on that and just ignore the ugly stuff in the background. Here's my little pup. I'm going to try to do another little sketch of him. That was a fun one to do there. So the 8x8, I'm really liking this, and we'll carry on with this. And so I've put some inspirational photos in for me to try to keep this sketchbook idea going, still lifes from the mantle, my desk. So we'll just see how that guy works. But the paper from this Archer and Olive is to die for. And next up, we'll talk about pens that I've gotten in and what I'm loving. And I will say that nothing has bled through on this Archer and Olive. Absolutely nothing. I am still a Hobonichi 100% addict. I cannot get enough of this planner. It is just a game changer. It's so successful for me that it's completely changed how I'm using this pocket brain. And I'm still just loving the process of every day going through and jotting down some to-dos, doing a little bit of journaling, adding in some stickers when I'm in the mood to make things beautiful. I had some fun last night just doing a few little stickers for earlier this week. And yeah, little workout reminder. Oh, I joined a gym, y'all. I've been working out again this year too. So that's taken up some of my time as well. So really loving this. And pens from Jet Pens we'll talk about next. And I feel like there is a Mac Daddy ink test page floating around here somewhere. So I'll find that. There you go. These were all from Jet Pens, and just sort of testing the way they felt, how they bled through, if they ghosted, etc. And I'm going to say that in the Archer and Olive, nothing is ghosting through in the slightest, right? So there's that entry there. This paper is amazing. And I've seen these journals. A lot of online journalers use them. But it was fun to get them in for my shop. And it turns out that the woman who built this company was a journaler, and she wasn't finding the journal that she wanted. And so she made it. And I will say that companies that the owner and creator is the user of the product is where you find the best stuff ever. I can always tell when some corporate machine has created a product because they don't function well. And you can always tell when the user was the creator because they work beautifully. And that's exactly what's happened with these Archer and Olives. And so, yeah, let's take a look at pens. And if we want to take a little closer look at this ivy, we can do that too. Okay, so lots of pens here. The first thing I want to show you is, this is my fountain pen that I mentioned to you. It's the Pilot Prera, Prera. And Dandelion, my Dandelion Diaries has this pen in the hot pink, but I was always interested in this fountain pen, and it's lovely. I don't know what to tell y'all. Since I got this thing, it's basically the only thing I've been using in this Hobonichi. Like day to day, just my to-dos. I love how this ink works in here. It has a really nice flow, and it feels beautiful on this paper. It just doesn't snag or drag, and I don't feel like there's any bleed through on the other side. So this has just been my go-to. I clamped it to, this is a pencil board I made actually out of a piece of this book journal. The back cover of this was this hard material, and I cut it in half and then wrapped it. Knocking stuff over. Wrapped it. And I did a collage on one side and then a watercolor. It's just a long story, but anyway, I had a vision of a stag appear in some clouds down at the marsh 2 days after my mom passed away. And so I came back and looked up in animal speak what the symbolism of a stag is, and so wrote some of that to myself here. Anyway, it's now my pencil board. This pencil board came from Hobonichi. It didn't come with it. I ordered it. But look at that paper. That's all this pen on this side, and you can see, I mean, maybe a little bit of ghosting there where I did a little sketch of a dumbbell, so it got, the ink kind of sat in one spot for a minute. And so maybe a little ghosting in that. But for just writing down what's up today, it seems to not come through. So I've really liked it. But what I love is how it feels. It's really slippery and slidey and wonderful. So there it is. That's my new favorite fountain pen. I have used it every single day since the day that I got it. It was the best $20 I ever spent, or $24, whatever it was. And then I'm going to mention this while I'm here. Somebody had asked me about the brown collection as a jet pen sample pack, and that is exactly what I got for my husband. There's a sample pack of brown ink pens, and there were a couple of these in there, and this is the Stabilo 0.88 fine 0.4, and it's brown ink. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to put a circle right next to that black so you can see this is the brown. What I want to say about this pen is that it feels like heaven on this Hobonichi paper. If you've been looking for a pen that works well on whatever this Hobonichi paper is now that they changed their paper out this year, apparently, this is amazing. So I am going to look at jet pens to see if they do this pen in any ink other than brown. I only have brown, and I feel like I did look for that and discovered that it was only in brown. I'm not sure that I'm right about that though. So let's look at that. Because if this came in other colors, just the way that it moves across this Hobonichi paper, I would absolutely pick up some of these in some other colors. I'll color in that croissant. I love the way that this feels on this paper. So there's that. Oh, but so why aren't you using it, Andrea? I don't love the color. See that pale brown? It fades out a little bit. I just don't love the color on this paper. I don't know. We're all weird with, what we like. I really just like black more than anything. When I've tried sepias and pencils, I do like pencils sometimes too, but browns, I don't know why. Browns just seem to kind of shut me down. It's just not my color, even in ink for these. So that's why it's not, I would like to see it in some other colors. It feels amazing on that paper. I've said that enough, I think. Let's look at that ink test page that was back here, and a couple things to look at.
So I've always liked these jelly rolls, and a lot of these come in those sample packs too. And I do like these. I'm using these in whites and iridescence these days to go on dark paper. So when I have dark paper, this is Jelly Roll Iridescent in a pink. I have, I think, pink, teal, white, maybe a peach. See, there's a pretty, what would you call that? Periwinkle blue. And I just wrote something in here yesterday, I think in white. Yeah, I just filled this in the white. So it's gray paper. So the white shows up on that. So I really like the Jelly Rolls for that. And this is my fountain pen. Do you see those little blobs there? That's because this paper that I did this on is rice paper. And when that ink touches that paper and sits, yeah. So I had to write quickly because if I paused, it started to bleed out. So just the paper matters for what you're doing pen wise. This Kaweco fountain pen I've shown you before. I've had this one for a while and it's decent. This is the Kaweco Sport. So it's a small pen. And I have my own ink in this, which is this kind of cool dusty blue. It does feel really nice in this. Huh. Maybe I should use this more. It does feel really nice on this Hobonichi. I do keep it with my little pocket brain, but to be honest with you, it might do better with this. Anyway, I like that. I got that in a set as well, but it was a paint set from Beam Paints. It came with that pen. So here's that Stabilo, this little guy right here. The pen that I'm using in my reading journal has possibly landed as my favorite pen in the history of pens, and that's the Tombow. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this. Sure I will. Fudenosuke. Tombow. Here it is here. See the check mark next to it? That's because I love the handwriting that I get from this pen. And I don't know about you, but like if you look at this ink test page, do you see this? My handwriting is different. These are all, I tried to write everything in all caps so I could compare in all caps instead of some in script, some in caps. Look how different my handwriting is depending on the pen that's in my hand. Does that happen to you? I'm always curious if I'm the only one that does that. Is it a sign of mental illness? Maybe. Okay, what I like about this pen is that it fits in between these dot grid. So it's not such a broad stroke that if I were to write in here that I can't get it right where I want it between these lines. And some brush style pens, and I would consider this close to a brush style. It's not loose, but it has kind of a brushy tip to it. What do they call it? Water-based pigment ink made in Japan. Yeah, they call it a brush pen. This is what I'm using in this reading journal, and I love it. I love the size. I love the depth of the black. I absolutely love it. I'm looking at the clock because I'm meeting a friend for lunch shortly. What I mean by not a super soft brush pen, here's another one from Zebra Pen Company, and I don't know that this came in that sample pack, but this holds up and this fans out. Blup, blup. So this one, see how broad I can get this one? This is a brush pen. Then I have one that is like a paintbrush, and that's this guy, and he came in, I had the package here for you. Here we go. He came in this Kuretake Fude pen number 55, double-sided, fine tip and soft brush tip pen, perfect for lettering, outlining, and inking illustration, water-based dye ink. One end of him is a little bit stiffer, and the other end is a paintbrush, right? So very different results, but fun. And I do like to doodle
with the brush pen. My doodles, when I'm warming up my hand in the morning to just try to get some stuff going or get the creative juices flowing, I call my doodles fake Japanese. This is my fake Japanese writing. It just, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It doesn't have any purpose. It's just meant to just keep the brush flowing. And this is really fun for that. But it's sloppy. I would have a hard time like writing my name in this, I think. Yeah, it's a little soupy, sloppy. But I love this pen. I've been carrying it with me everywhere I go because I just never know when I'm going to be in the mood for this. And so I've really liked that one. He did not come in the Jet Pens pack. I got him separately at Ready Arts in Jacksonville. But I think that you could get him on Jet Pens easily enough. And I also haven't checked Sterling Ink. I'm going to check their company as well. But I am going to go on a deep dive on the Tombow of everything that I got. This is what I love. The Copic multi-liner is great for sketching, but it is really, really fine. And I kind of struggle with that. The Uniball has been great for sketching, and it's what all the online sketch artists are using. And now I know why. Oh, I just smudged that. And now I know why. This is a really good sketching pen. You know, you can do really fine lines. You can do really large lines. You can do shadow with it. It has a good feel to it. And that's just a basic Uniball Vision. Those came, and it's waterproof. So I can use my, I can run a paintbrush over this. Well, of course I just painted, but it will stick. Actually, you know what? It might be this paper that it's struggling with. I'll show you in here. If I do some scribble scrabble in here, and that's one of the things I was testing with some of these too. Like, even though this is an artist pen and it's a brush pen, it does smudge when you put paint over it. But this one, once I let it dry, which I'm not being very good about, but once I let it dry, I can get, that is water, P.S. Can you see that? That is a wet pen. Wet brush. And it's not bleeding at all. So that's pretty cool. This one that bled down here, I think this was the fountain pen. That was my pilot. This was that big brush pen. But I have been keeping sort of miscellaneous pens just in this little zip bag. And look at this one. This one came in the sample pack. This is a Pentel brush pen from Japan. You want to talk about soupy? Blah, 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 blah. Very painty. So could definitely have its purposes. Could be a lot of fun. I've used it here and there. It's not my fave. It's a little soupy for me. This is that Copic that's right here that I was talking about. It is so fine. So it's been really handy when I've needed super duper fine. I just don't need super duper fine very often. This is that Stabilo that I actually, this is a lighter brown. So they do come in different colors. See that one? Compared to this one that I stole from my husband. So I'll take a look at those and see what other shades they come in. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in here. This was a Micron tip brush pen that came in the Jet Pen collection as well, and it's not as soupy. To me, this feels more like a marker. So it's got its purposes. You know what I've been doing with this one a lot is headers. Like, I'll bet you this was done in this. Yeah. Yeah. So that's been handy for doing big headers up there. I showed you guys that I got a collection from Zebra Pens, and that is the midliner double points. I am in love with midliners, and I've now been buying them single. I've found them at the dollar store nearby. They have a whole shelf full of them available for $1 a piece, and I've really been loving that. That's what this backdrop color is here. So midliners, if you find sets of those, go for it. If your dollar store has them, I highly recommend. Get a few different colors and see what you think about those. I've liked them for this kind of thing. I love doing a little splush, 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 and then writing or doing a little backdrop. That's a midliner back there. You'll see it throughout this book. Those are midliners that are doing the highlights in the back. And actually, in some of the cases, I'm writing right over them with midliners too. I don't know. I just like that sort of highlighting a specific area as the backdrop and then writing on top of it. As you know, this is my first Hobonichi, so I'm just kind of learning what works for me, but that seems to be a good answer. And it's what I've done here too. And what I've been doing with this is I do my day, and then in the top, I do the stuff I do before I head out, typically. And then I kind of do a block of what I did at work or while I was gone for the day. And then I do kind of a follow-up of my day. What was it like? What did I get done? How did I feel? Did I hear a cool quote? So a little bit of journaling at the back part. But I start my days with what's at home, what's at studio, then kind of what's next from there. I've really been loving the layout of that. This is rambly as I'll get out. I have to go meet a friend for lunch. What I want to say about the pen sample packs is I highly recommend them. That's what I'm going to say. Order one. See what you think. There's artist packs. There's brush pen packs. There's sketch artist packs. There's journalers packs. There's brown packs. They come really quickly. And I think it's such a great way. If you wonder what the sample packs are, the point is there's multiple brands and styles in any given package. And I think that's really tricky to make happen. Just run into any old store. Like I know for a fact my Staples does not have anything like this in it. I could get this here, and this here, but this, and this, I would have never found without a jet pan sample pack. So I'm a big fan. I think they're worth trying out. And I think that if you end up with a few pens in there you don't adore right away, hang on to them. One of the things I learned about pens in going through this deep dive is that it really matters which pen I use based on the size of the rule. So let me show you one more journal here and then we'll wrap it up. This also came in that pack, the orthographic liner, and I don't have the test page for this anymore. I threw it away, but I went into the back and ripped a piece of paper out. See the rule on this? It is what it is, right? I can't change it. And I wanted to make sure that my rule my handwriting fit within that rule in a really nice way. This is that printer, by the way, I took a photo of the tarot card I pulled. I wanted to make sure that my handwriting in all caps fit cleanly within that rule. And so I tried several pens, and some were too fine and it just was fading away. And some were too thick and it was bloppy and weird. And this one was the Goldilocks. It just fits really beautifully. In this setup. It leaves me a little room around each line. So as I fill in paragraphs, I'm not banging into the text above. And so it left this really clean. This is a journal that I just started with my therapist this year. We're working on some really specific deep dive issues that have kind of plagued me for a while. And so whenever I do a journal like that, I like a plain dot grid or ruled lined, no dates, no prompts, no nothing, just me and my brain, and away we go. And she's given me some questions to ask myself throughout this, and I jot those down. And then I've just been sliding this little guy in here. But try the pen with the paper, not only for the paper quality, and does it bleed, right? Does it dry? Does it bleed through? But also, does it fit? Does the point of it, is it good enough size to match up to the grid or to the dots or to the rule on the paper? That's a really important part of the story. It is for me anyway. And as I said at the beginning of this, when we go to troubleshoot why a journal is or is not serving us at any given moment, if it's just looking super sloppy, that might just be a matter of changing the size of the pen that you're using. Just get the ink that works better, or the nib, or etc. So there we go. Pens galore. I will tell you that I have had more fun with this little printer. If you have a phone full of photos and you're wondering what on earth you're supposed to do with them, I can't more highly recommend this thing. So I bought a 3-pack. The 3-pack was the printer, the case, and a pack of the film. So if you go to Amazon, you know how you can see if you or pull this item and scroll down, it'll say people who bought this bought these 3 things together. That's what I did. And I love it. I just keep it charged up. And the paper, as you can see, makes this pretty little photograph. They're all stickers. Did I tell you that? When you buy this paper, you'll buy the paper that goes with it. It's zinc paper. Even if it doesn't say, they're all sticky backed as far as I can tell. Do we hold that there a little bit longer so you can see that? And they come in 10 packs. And the ink is in the paper, so you don't have cartridges to change and things like that. And then you just get these gorgeous photos. This was one that was on my phone that my sister had sent me, and I was able to print it out. It's actually a picture of me when I was 10 years old wearing an amazing, amazing cheetah shirt. So if you have photos that are sitting on your camera and you're like, what am I supposed to do with these? The answer is get a printer and start printing them out. I have loved them. I think I even put one, I can't remember, but there is one just sitting in my daily planner somewhere. I haven't been using them a lot in my planner, but I feel like I threw one in there very recently. See, once I get moving around with this thing with you guys, I lose my page markers. Yeah, look. Happy Saturday, friends. I just put some text on it, and that was me and Echo that morning down there. They're so fun. But for reading journaling, I mean, that's the bomb. You get the actual book cover just done. Oh, I love it. And then, of course, for my painting, it's just been so handy to have the visual reference sitting right next to the painting that I'm about to do and am doing. I have just loved that availability. So 2 thumbs up on that. It's been a long episode. Let's do a face-to-face and do a tarot reading, and then we'll go from there. Well, hello, we're back. So, wow, that's a lot of overhead, isn't it? I hope you enjoyed. I have enjoyed, and we're going to move right into reading our tarot card because this video is getting very long, and we'll pick up in the next video with some things I mentioned. I will continue with the reading journal. We'll talk a little bit more about the printer. I have a sketch journal that I'm excited about and am not very good at, but happy to share the beginner's world of sketch journaling. We'll talk about that next time too. The deck we're going to read from today is the Luminal Forest. We read from this same deck in the last video. Luminal Forest is by MJ Cullinan. This deck, Guardian of the Night Tarot, we've read from several times in these videos, and this is a very accessible deck. I found this one at Barnes & Noble. I think it's even available on Amazon. This particular version, the Luminal Forest, I found on her website. I'm not sure that this is available anyplace other than her website, but you could look around. I like this deck because it's a single word. Versus Suits, where's the word? Battle. Like a standard tarot has, 7 of Cups, things like that. Suits. This one just has one word, projection. And then she has these animals that she has illustrated these cards with. And what I've been doing is using Animal Speak in tandem with this deck when I pull a card. And Animal Speak by Ted Andrews. This book, my friend Paula turned me on 2 years ago, and I've referenced it in videos here before. I think that you could find it on thriftbooks.com, a used copy, easily for under $10. This is a book that's been out for a long time. So the card that we pulled today is Choices. And that's so interesting because I had a text conversation with a friend first thing this morning about choices and whether we believe that we have choices. Are we stuck? Do we feel like we are, I have no choice. Have you ever said that? I just had no choice. In that moment, I had no choice. Is that true? Do we really have choices? Let's see what this card, first let's look at it more closely.
choices. And we see that it is a rabbit who's got his back to us and he's facing two trees with doors in them. And then swirling above his head are moths, and there seems to be a crow up in that tree in the background. So I would look up all of those. I would look up a hare, I would look up moths, and I would look up crows as part of my reading for this. Let's see what she says. Choices. Have you ever played that game where you trace all the decisions that led you to this exact moment? It's a curious, almost mystical experience, isn't it? Reflecting on the twists and turns of fate, I often circle back to one pivotal decision. I was indecisive about meeting up with a friend one fateful Saturday afternoon, yet something nudged me towards the door. It was a decision that, in its wake, brought a deluge of headaches and moments of despair. But that one decision also resulted in the joy of my life, my child. It's a fascinating realization, isn't it? Our choices, no matter how trivial or inconsequential they may seem at the time, each decision plays a role in our future. As we stand at a distance, only in hindsight can we fully appreciate the intricate patterns and the pivotal role these moments play in shaping our destiny. You too may find yourself at a crossroads, now facing a choice that holds a potential to shake the foundations of your world, or perhaps it will pass by a gentle ripple in the pond of your life. That's the peculiar beauty of our existence. The uncertainty and mystery cloaks our choices, shrouding their true impact until we've crossed the threshold and the door has swung shut behind us. Whether it leads us to a path of turmoil or tranquility, the beauty lies in the journey, lessons learned, and growth from each step forward. Your next choice might just be the key to unlocking the future you've yet to imagine, a future where every twist and turn brings you closer to the joy and fulfillment that you seek. So that's lovely. If I were to journal on that, I would ask myself some questions like, can I think of a single choice that I feel like I regret, but I'll pause on that. Have I made any choices that I know are absolutely or the key to changing something for the better? And then, like I said, I'll go deeper with the animals in the picture as well. It's funny that this is the card because I told you I just read in January Matt Haig's The Midnight Library, and that is a book about choices. It is a book about regrets and parallel universes and choices. So yeah, that seems to be a really key theme with me today. That word keeps popping up. And so that's what I'll do. I'll journal on that this week. I hope you will also. I think it's a great place to land in the world of journaling. And I'm so happy you spent some time with me here. Look forward to recording again. It'll probably be next week. These big breaks won't be happening as much. My schedule has really quieted down. So great to see everyone, and take care of yourselves. And we'll look forward to next time.